November 13th.
Motion to approve the minutes from November 13th.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We are good. All right, next up, school committee chairperson comments. I'll just make two quick comments here tonight. First off, I want to congratulate Dr. Cohen and her family for her son's acceptance to his first choice school. So congratulations to the family. That's big news and exciting. Check one more box. And I also just want to make a comment, just thanking everybody on the committee right now. I know, at least personally, it is like as crazy as it gets right now with every subcommittee meeting multiple times a week and these meetings and negotiations and all that kind of thing. So I know we got a lot of work to do over the next 3 or 4 months, but just wanted to recognize the committee and thank everybody for what we're doing, and we will power through it. So, next up, we've got community comments. Anybody here from the community looking to speak? Sam, how about online?
I see no hands raised.
All right, that's beautiful. Next up, we can move on to student comments. I think we'll start over here. First up, we've got our school representatives. So, good evening.
Awesome. This week is Wellness Week, kicking off a weekend of no homework. Students will have the opportunity to spread awareness of wellness and promote a healthy lifestyle. This week will consist of speakers, activities, and performances from the band and tons of Nipmuc pride. And then we have the winter concerts beginning this week from December 6th through the 13th. The Nipmuc Chorus Band and Ensemble will be hosting concerts featuring vocalists and musicians from across the entire district. Each concert begins at 7 in the Nipmuc Auditorium. In addition, the Upton VFW has placed Toys for Tots boxes in the Nipmuc lobby for people to stop by and make donations of new and unwrapped toys. The final day for collecting will be tomorrow, Tuesday, December 5th.
And we also have the Spanish exchange program. So students from Divina Pastora School in Leon, Spain have just arrived and met with their host families. Today they had their first day of school year and bonded with their hosts over some Dunkin' Donuts. So Nipmuc was also named a Center of Excellence by Max IQ for its commitment to excellence in education, building a fruitful partnership, which segues into an update on the main trip, where students presented their posters and felt valued as members of the space community and build amazing networks.
Excellent. All right, any questions? Thank you both very much for your efforts. All right, I think next up we've got a group from Clough Elementary School as part of the student council.
I mean, I would love for them to present that, but. Okay, so I'm excited to introduce just a few of our student council members that are coming here tonight to tell you about student council at Clough and a little bit about some of the events and projects they've been part of, or just some other events that have been happening at Clough. So I will turn it over to them.
Hi, my name is Connor. We had to do an application if we wanted to be a member of the student council. On it, we had to define what it means to be a leader, and we had to share some of our ideas for things to do for the school. Teachers and our principal read the forms anonymously, and 15 student council members were selected.
I'm Katarina. We have meetings once a month before school. Our first meeting, we got to know each other and we brainstormed ideas and projects and events. For our second meeting, it was World Kindness Day. So we wrote positive messages on sticky notes and placed them on lockers and teachers' doors to help everyone start their day with a smile on their face.
I'm Belinda. On November 17th, we had our first school assembly. The student council got to plan and lead it. We reminded everyone of expected behaviors during assemblies as a group. We did our Choose to Be Nice pledge, which is I promise to spread kindness wherever and whenever possible. We had our second grade Spanish immersion teacher lead us in the Spanish version of the pledge. Principal Garden gave out kindness awards to several club students who were nominated by teachers.
Hi, my name is Cam. We had a fun event before school on Tuesday, November 21st. We did a breakfast and bingo with club families. Families got to visit each other, eat breakfast, and play bingo. There were lots of awesome prizes that kids won.
My name is Juliet. We have also done some fun events as a school and have some events coming up in December. We had another cardboard creation day where we got to build with cardboard and design all kinds of things. The high school students came and helped us. We also had a play day afternoon one day during November. Did you know that when we play, we are learning? We have a family math night coming up December 20th where we get to play math games. Show our families how we use ST Math and take home some cool math tools to play with at home. We have our next student council meeting next week, and we will continue to plan more great activities for the school, such as spirit days, community service projects, and reading and playing with our younger students.
Okay. And that was just a little quick summary, and I did tell them you might have questions for them, so they are ready if you do. But I also wanted to mention, I think Connor had said it, but this is only a third of our student council. We have 15 members total, but so they are representing our student council representatives.
How often do you guys get together?
About once a month.
And also though, sometimes when do we also meet?
We meet sometimes if there's like really special events coming up, we'll have like quick little meetings.
Like when do we meet? Like during the day? What
Like
time?
more
Yeah.
specifically,
We have, like,
like at
working lunch
lunch, and sometimes
Nice. Used to. Excellent.
What made you guys want to be on student council?
I wanted to like lead the school.
Any others you want to share too, Kat? That's awesome. That is definitely true. Why did you want to be on student council, Juliet?
I just basically wanted to help the school and just have fun activities for people.
And I think Connor said a few things, but what do you remember some of the questions that you had to write, you had to answer on the application process?
You have
Oh yeah.
to answer like what things that you can do to help the school and like
What's Mrs. Garden's favorite question that I said? Do you remember that one? What's the definition of
being a leader.
being a leader? Yeah. And you weren't allowed to go and do what? Just look it up in the, yeah.
We had to literally just make up our own reason.
You had to make up your own reason, right? Yeah, exactly. Awesome.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, thank you guys. Really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for this.
Have a good night. All right, Nicole, before we go over to you, Sam, we might have had a missed raised hand.
That is my fault. I apologize. Thank you. Gina from the View Foundation. So Gina, I think you're not allowed to talk now.
Can you hear me?
We got you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for squeezing me in between. I appreciate it very much. I just wanted to take the opportunity to put in a word in about capital planning, especially since Dr. Benoit's in there. that our middle schools would do so well to have proper science labs with benches and plumbing, and sinks, glassware, everything that the children would need. And research shows that science labs provide students with various opportunities, to quote the ACS, to learn and experiment, which plays crucial roles in an ongoing intellectual development of students at any academic level. So it's critical to learn science through experimentation, and I hope that the capital planning committee incorporates this into the budget planning. All right, that's all I got. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for everyone for joining. Excellent. Dr. Cullen?
All right, thank you. Well, in the next few meetings we're going to be recognizing some of our amazing staff. So tonight we're going to be starting with Mr. Williams. I'm going to say a little bit about you and then we'll call you up, all right? So we're thrilled to share that our visual arts instructor at Miskell Hill Middle School, Mr. Justin Williams, was named the Middle Level Art Educator of the Year by the Massachusetts Art Education Association, or MAEA. Justin uses a student-centered approach that teaches foundational art skills through experiential learning, but also tailors lessons to meet students' individual needs to open paths to creativity and exploration. Students are encouraged to ask questions, work independently, focusing on the process rather than the final product. Justin also works to ensure that all students have a safe space to create art, emphasizing mental health and social emotional wellness. Now, I always get to say that I'm so fortunate that I get to go into classrooms all throughout all of our schools, right? When I go into Justin's class, I don't want to leave. I just want to go in a corner and sit down, and I make some friends, and I sit down, and I ask them what they're doing, and they're always fully engrossed in whatever it is, if it's the painting or the clay or whatever aspect that it is throughout the year. And I wish you could see what the environment, how it feels in the classroom. And I wish every classroom could kind of feel like that. It is absolutely amazing. And I can't believe that Justin has only been with us for a couple of years, because it feels like he's been with us for a number of years. And so what we'd like to do is have you come on up, and we can recognize you publicly here, because you've been recognized elsewhere.
All right, we're supposed to go up here
Yep.
for the official. There we go. Congratulations. Excellent. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much.
Really
I
appreciate it.
Oh, I mean, I'm truly grateful for this, and every day. You know, I think as teachers, your students are learning, but I learn every day and I grow as well. And I think that's, you know, they inspire me and it helps me to grow and to do what I do. And, you know, education's never changing, you know, and I think I'm one of the lucky ones, you know, to be able to do what I do and teach. I get to go into a job that really inspires me and drives me. I'm just excited for the opportunities to come. So.
The other update that I had was just related to grant awards. It seems like every week we're getting new grants, but sometimes we don't always come back to give you some updates. Early this year, we received a grant from the state on approaches to addressing student cell phone use. It's a pilot grant. And I just wanted to come back to it because we just got the official grant award from the governor, I think. And so a couple things we're going to be doing now. We have a cell phone committee that's been formed at the high school. And I'm really impressed by the team approach that they're putting into the work to improve just use of cell phones or how to manage it. So one thing we're gonna do with the grant, and it's $11,450, is to have charging stations in the room. So you think, well, what's that for? Well, what we found is sometimes if the iPads aren't charged, then students will go over and then next thing you know, we're using, you know, the cell phones. But if we have the ability to have the charging stations for when we don't have it, then we won't have the need to bring out the cell phone. So it's one thing that takes away some of that distraction that some of the students have noticed. Another thing that we'll be doing is the grants will pay for a couple stipends for some staff members to put together cell phone advisory lessons and develop strategies, and that'll be throughout the year. They also did a survey. Did you guys take that survey? Not too long ago, right? Okay. So you can tell us all about the survey. Survey was about like healthy use of cell phones and all that. Yeah, and then we're going to also have like a pilot working with a few students on a digital detox, and there would be a digital detox cell phone coach. And they'd be able to work with students to help identify their cell phone concerns and then work through and see if that kind of model works. Because I'm sure, I mean, I know I never can be without this, like I even myself, right? And I have to train myself to turn off notifications from my emails or turn off different things or put it into focus mode. And these are skills that even with some of our devices, we didn't have in the past. So some of these that we can put in to implement. So we're just thankful for the grant. Just want to give you an update because it is Wellness Week and that's part of some of the work that we do in Wellness Week here at the high school. Any questions on that? Okay, great. And I'll turn it over to Jay.
Tonight, got the year-to-date reports that we get every month, takes us to the end of November, so we're just starting the 7th. Again, things look relatively stable. Feel like I'm doing my job here tonight, but I did snow and ice update. Right now, we're in good shape. I just want you to be sure of that. But other than that, if you have any questions, I didn't do any fancy charts or anything.
What's the likelihood of snow this year?
I'm as accurate as any weatherman, so.
Good.
Very little, hopefully only on Saturday.
Yeah, we haven't planned.
Yeah.
We're thinking about heated driving, so that'll be fun.
Get that much.
But other than that, everything looks fairly stable this point of the year, so it's okay.
Okay, great. Questions? No, thanks, Shane. All right.
Going in.
That's quite the show to follow.
Well, put it intentionally, it's all the chuckles behind the scenes. I've got my clock, I'm timing myself. Fancy graphs this time. You ready, Sam?
Always.
Not starting my clock until it's up. Not that one yet. Is that the live? We'll go live in a little bit. Okay, a little teaser. All right. All right. So I'm very happy to be here to share our 2023 student assessment overview. I think it's an important kind of moment to hear about the trends that have that the state has recognized across the state, hear how our district is doing in comparison to those trends, and also to highlight the areas of analytics that we're doing internally to identify areas where we can celebrate and the places that we need to continue to focus. So that's really the purpose of the presentation. Okay. So state level trends, and the punchline, I always tell my
my kids, you write with the punchline right first, okay? So here's the punchline for the state level trends, and really the punchline also comparatively is that our district is really following the same trends. It's one of the things we do when we take a first pass is to see if the trends kind of match up. So in 2023 across the state, the data showed that the slide from the pandemic actually halted in ELA and math, which is great news. And that is the same for Mendon-Upton as well. It also showed that science saw slight decreases still. So obviously there's adjustments they're making to assessments in science and stuff like that, and adjustments that districts are making, but that could also be pandemic related as well. So that's a trend as well. Our results show the same thing. Grade 3, the state says we need to be cautious about what is coming next. And this is because these kids were in kindergarten when the pandemic hit, and those are really formative years for literacy development and really beginning socialization and stuff like that. So, and I'll show you the trends. They're pretty flat, so it's hard to determine what's coming next. And then finally, there's still significant ground to make up in different places, and you'll see that through some of the displays. Thanks, Sam. So this is just our assessment landscape, just to kind of remind you of where we've been and where we're going, and some of what we do beyond this presentation that we're talking about today. So in 2019, it was the last time that there was a full administration of the test, that proficiency and growth were reported, and that there were full accountability results. This is the first year since 2019 that we're kind of back to the same thing. Last year we had most of that, but the accountability results weren't complete. And so, and then of course this year we've already talked about this. There's universal screening, so that also builds assessments. But for our district, actually, our district has noticed, in conjunction with some of the visioning that has happened last year's strategic plan, or last strategic plan and the strategic plan, that it's really important to kind of think about what it means to really understand when students are thriving. It's like what we're all about here. And so we've put a lot of time and energy into developing a portrait of learner competencies, mastery transcript, different ways of formatively assessing where students are at along the way, including use by Ready, DIBELS, and also making sure that we have assessments for social emotional learning, as well as the academics, which we really truly understand goes hand in hand with what we're trying to accomplish in our ability to enable our students to thrive. So all of that in association with some of the work that we're doing and the structures we're putting in place and the systems that we're enabling staff and the community to be able to access the data. These are things that I feel like kind of round out our assessment landscape, even though we're going to talk about evidence. Thanks, Sam. So here's where we get some graphics for the kind of overall trends for the district. This is where I'm going to start with math. So this is an assessment that's, or the graphics that talk about math, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time with this slide. The other ones are similar. So once you understand what you're looking at, it'll be easier to see. You've got this line right here, which represents our district's trend over time, and the dashed line is the state's trend. You've got bars over here representing the proficiency distribution from 2018 to 23. And then over here, you've got percentage proficient, the up or down from the previous year and versus the state average, the scaled score, and then the growth. Okay, so now you know what you're looking at. You can see that for math, we're experiencing an upward trend for math, like where we're growing relatively to the state faster. And you can see from the proficiency bars that they're beginning to grow as well. And we actually have experienced some spectacular growth in math this year, looking at these trends. Everything is in the plus here, you can see from previous year versus state.
Is that all grades or is that specific?
That's all grades. This is like a district overview. That's right. This breaks down the grades though. Okay. And so what I wanted to show here is I wanted to just show the proficiency distribution from grade by grade and longitudinally. So 2019 to 2023, you can see that in math, a lot of the bars are approaching what was pre-pandemic proficiency, or in some cases, even surpassing pre-pandemic proficiency. Now it's 1 year's worth of data. And so could it go down a little bit next year? Sure, it could. But I think in general, when you take the bars over the course, you see this kind of like upward trend, right? Where we're really getting close to pre-pandemic proficiency in math. So that's worth noting. So now I'll hop to ELA, and you kind of know what you're looking at here. In ELA, we're pretty consistently mirroring the trends in the state. We're above state average consistently in the district. We haven't seen as much growth. That's similar to state trends as well. You still see the bars starting to grow in the blue. And also you end up seeing an SGP above 50, which I'm always looking for, slightly above, but still above. And all the previous versus state averages are positive.
SGP is state.
It's a growth percentile. Yep.
Student growth.
That's right. And so what you're looking for is like, the hope is that it's 50 or above. You're going to see in the presentation, there are some areas where we're not 50 or above, right? And again, it's a year's worth of data, so we want to be cautious about it, but
is it average?
It's a calculation that's done whereby the state takes cohorts of kids who score similarly to other peers, and they do a calculation, then they assess them, they see where that distribution falls, and they create a percentile based on that. So like if a child went right across and was in the middle of that distribution, they get a 50, right? But if they score way up here and most of their peers score down here, then they're going to get above a 50. When you're talking about like trying to separate those lines between the state and our district, or shrink achievement gaps, you want to see something above the 50. Okay. So this is the longitudinal proficiency for ELA. Again, you see the bars, like there isn't as much of a like upward trend here, but you still see the bars in large part just cresting a little bit above the yellow, which I think is positive. Okay, so yellow is last year, then it's versus this year. So when you're looking at a 2-year trend, you want to like, most of those bars are heading in the right direction. There's a couple of exceptions to that, and we're taking note of that. So here are our science trends. Our science trends across the state, if you recall, they declined, right? So we're all looking at science and trying to tease out like what that means in terms of the assessment and stuff like that. One thing that I want to point out is the difference between the state average. Like we're significantly higher than the state average in this district. And so even though the declines are happening, and even though you'll see that compared to previous year, our scores were a little bit lower in science, they're still substantively, we're ahead of the state average in science. And the trend was this year that the state averages declining. So if you want to do it backwards.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
The previous year was actually higher than.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. That's why it says.
Decline, but it's.
That's right. That's what you see right here. Yep. You see that's a little bit of a slope downward. And you might not see it as much, but this is a little bit of a slope downward too. Okay. And there's no SGP because of the separation in the testing, basically. Like it's 5th grade, 8th grade, and 10th grade, and we've only been doing this for 2 years, so they can't really talk about the SGP yet.
Because in some respects, the student performance was actually better in 2022 than 2019.
That's right. That's right.
So
yeah.
That's a little bit of
and so, but I'm cautious with the results. It's just a couple of years of data. The variation isn't tremendous right here. And so, yeah, we're gonna pay attention to this and I wouldn't necessarily like make anything about like a little bit above or a little bit below from like a specific year to the next. So here's the graphic that I just want to show you what it means in third grade. In third grade, basically, like you can see it's really flat, and that's us and the state. And so like the state is basically saying we don't really know what's like what to make of this yet. We have to keep watching our young students closely, basically, to see what the trends are. So we will. Again. So here's accountability for you. Okay. Check the clock. All right, I gotta go. So accountability results are basically a way for the state to be able to provide a reference for us versus other districts, and also for us or our schools versus other schools, and for us compared to our progress in the past and where our targets are. They set targets, and what they said is all positive for us, okay? That we don't require any assistance or intervention, that we've made substantial progress to our targets, which out of a 4-scale Likert is the second to the best, right? It's not meeting targets, but it's substantial progress towards, and it's 69% is their substantial progress. Compared to in 2019, we had 34% and we were making, but I can't remember what the one before it is, making progress, but it wasn't substantial. Okay. So here's where we get into celebrations and focus. This is our data inquiry cycle. We collaboratively created this kind of framework, and schools across the district are using it. And one of the things we specifically asked teams to do, because this is a collaborative effort, is to identify areas where we can celebrate what they've done and what they've accomplished and the things we need to build on, and also where we need to continue to focus. So we'll do that with the schools now. So here's elementary, okay? And this is just a kind of overview. I wanted to show you that in math and in ELA, in grades 3 and 4, we're consistently overperforming the state average. In grade 4, this is going to be our celebration. You can flip it. That's really significantly above the state average. And here, somebody last year asked me for cohort trends. And so I stuck one in, okay? And so this is our current 5th graders, right? Who took the test in 3rd grade and then in the spring of 4th grade, okay? And this is their growth. Basically, you can see them kind of deviating from the state average. So that's a big celebration for us at the elementary level. Next. And here's our focus, okay? So we have charts that show us where we're on par with the state, and this is something that we've been talking about for a while, is that we were looking to really hone an elementary focus on our writing. Writing combines all aspects of literacy. It's really like, what are you reading and how are you understanding it? And how do you respond to it? And so our elementary schools have this as their main PD focus this year. They're reviewing their curriculum and resources. They're developing rubrics collaboratively so that they can calibrate their assessments about the writing. And one of their theories of action is that we really have to help kids believe they can be writers, and also that their stamina improves, because it can be tiring to do all that writing. The state knows this too. I was just at a session last week, and they were saying that they were talking about cutting out some of the writing from the MCAS. It's like, oh. Here's our MISCO overview. But in these trends I've already pointed out before, you can see in math where we're really gaining back close to proficiency from pre-pandemic. In ELA, we're doing the same thing, but it's not as pronounced. In science, we didn't see an increase this year in proficiency, but it's pretty much in line with this, what we're noticing statewide. Okay. For celebrations, we made considerable gains in meeting and exceeding expectations for proficiency. in both math and ELA. And I like a couple of these are really worth pointing out. Okay. So I wanted to show you that. Also wanted to show you that even when the gains aren't there, that sometimes the growth is. So you can't like let the fact that that's not positive here mask that incredible growth right there. And you'll also notice that even when there is positive in some areas, our growth isn't where we want it to be. And so we need to pay attention to that. So we want to celebrate the positive movement and ask ourselves, can we make positive movement at a different rate, basically. So here's the celebrations for science as well. Again, both proficiency above the state average. And if you go to the focus. Thanks. At MISCO, we're using some of the same displays to kind of focus in on what we need to attend to. The analysis is really about focus standards across different departments. So every department is kind of thinking about what is it that we need to focus on. And what they're doing is they're talking about how we align curriculum, first of all. Do we teach the standards? Where do we teach them? How do we circle back to them if the kids are missing them? Also building instructional strategies to improve our ability to attend to the diverse needs of learners. Our learners have diverse needs, and we have to be able to, in general ed classrooms, really bring them in and engage them wherever they're at. We just had a workshop today, for example, that was focused on universal design for learning, which is specifically a tier 1 framework to kind of build our skills in that area. And then supporting SEL needs of students in tier 1, that's going to be another area of focus. So here's the NIPMUC overview. There's a big difference between the state average and our in NIPMUC. Next slide. So here are some celebrations in addition to the fact that like we're well overperforming state averages at the high school level. Average SGP in ELA is 61. That's amazing. And this I saw as I was looking through some of the trends is that growth in math in comparison to other Blackstone Valley communities has actually gone from what, we were lower in growth to now we're third. This year we were third out of 8 of the districts. So the growth in math has been good, relatively speaking, as well. And so here's where we're going to go live. So what I wanted to show you, this is a dashboard we use that for some of this work. And I wanted to just kind of show you how it works super quick. So can you launch into it if it's not going to take too long? All right, super. I'm going to back over and do this. I think I'll do it quicker. Okay. So here we are on the dashboard, and this is some of the graphics that I've already showed you. I'm going to go to this one. I just clicked on items. It's our item analysis. And so what I want to do is I want to show you what the math department, what I did with the math department this last week. We were sitting down, we were talking about 10th grade math at VSCO, and you'll notice that as I click the grades, it shows the different distribution and it shows the different standards, so they can look at that. And then it also shows these standards over here, and what they were focusing on was algebra and functions. So I'm going to click on that bar. And when I do, what happens is I get all the questions that were released from the MCAS in algebra and functions, and I can see how our kids did in relation to the state average right there. And so this display allows them to pick out some of the places where the kids didn't answer the questions the way they would have expected. And when they did that, because they were looking at this, they were able to say, you know what we need to focus on? We need to focus on quadratics, and we need to focus on functions. And so that's part of what they're talking about right now. And this is how we're using the data to kind of generate the inquiry. Can you flip back to the slides? So the next 3 slides, I'm just gonna kind of blast through. This is what we're doing next, and I've kind of woven it into the story anyways. Couple things I want to highlight though. This is really important, this whole idea of deeper learning. It's like how we as a district prioritize the story that we're telling about about how we help kids thrive and the things that we think will do that. Deeper learning experiences we're talking about all across the district. And one of the things we have to do in an assessment front is think about what that means. What does it mean to be able to tell if we're getting better at providing deeper learning experiences for kids? What would we expect them to say and think about and do what we expect to see? So that's something to point out. Next slide. With priority 2, high quality curriculum instruction, I think that one of the things that I wanted to point out was is the pacing guides. Okay, so one of the things I've noticed at the elementary school, for example, is that in conjunction with some of the curriculum that we've brought in, they've been able to map it out so that we know who's teaching what when in math, and that it's all mapped out so that these conversations about where are we teaching these standards, do we circle back to them? That's all there in the pacing guides. And so that kind of work will continue as we kind of review curriculum through lots of the different grades. And next. And so this one right here is about how we're building systems for all students, for all our whole student reviews. So the thing that I wanted to point out here is that in addition to some of this bigger kind of like aggregate level work, where these systems will allow us to drill down to individual students. And this is when we have conversations supported through S3, and also to build what we know about kids and their strengths and their interests, and how we can support them, and also transfer that information to the next educators that have them. So it lives and it kind of builds over time. So that's it. I put a bunch of stuff about attendance in the appendix because that's another thing they're talking about, but my time is up. Very
Yeah, it's fantastic.
One question I had is when you're doing the demo of the Power BI data there, what level of like, do teachers have access, or team leaders or principals, and where does the access go to?
Yeah, that everyone has access right now, and it's rostered through Power School, so they have access to their students.
Oh, wow. So we just got, if you got a 7th grade teacher, the 6th graders might have been 5 different classes. They can actually see how their cohort of kids did previously.
They see their cohort that's in front of them right now, so they don't see the previous. What they see for the previous year is the aggregate results.
Yeah.
Okay, so they can do a look back to see how we did last year, and then they see the aggregate results for the kids this year. It's terrific. And it's updated nightly the way the system works. So like, because it's all connected, if a new student arrives, that new student will show up in their cash programs.
That's what I mean. It's great to see, and it's good that the state's because all the data exists, but to be able to present it in an easy to digest format is just that's awesome. It's so great to be able to do that.
Here we go.
No, I'll make one of the last comment.
No question.
I'll make one. This is on your slide 4 with the timeline on it. Like we literally should print a poster out of what was at the bottom. I ready, Dibbles, Panorama, whatever. We use those words all the time. And I'm usually 5 minutes behind. What does that one do? You know? But it's just like, you know, seeing kind of just a quick description of each is really helpful. And I think one thing I'd love to see by the time we wrap up this year is an example of what a open architect's dashboard looks like. Just child.
That's what this. That is Open Architects, that platform that I just showed you.
Oh, that's not MCAS?
No, that's not the state.
Oh,
That's
okay.
ours,
So
yeah.
but it was, okay, maybe I'm the only one that missed that. But was it just MCAS data then? in there?
No, actually, there's lots of dashboards. So like when we come back, this is, look, how about this, right? I gotta keep it tight.
We're already over for 4 minutes.
How about when we come back to talk about panorama?
There you
right?
go.
We'll bring in that dashboard, show you a little, give you a little bit.
There we
more
go.
color.
Awesome.
But any of these like pictures that you had in the presentation that show those comparisons, that's all from open architecture.
So, okay, so I'm gonna ask that. So you're ingesting all the data from the state in MCAS to then put it into open architecture. That's what allows you to do the dynamic classrooms at that point, because try to figure out how the state would know, because they don't really know what the classrooms are.
No, yeah,
But
it's
now-
connected with our power.
But now you know what the rosters are, so you've got that kind of data.
And we can also put in iReady. If you look at you have the deck,
So
right?
what's next
So if
slide?
you look really closely at that last slide,
Yeah.
where it says student by student explorer, I grayed out the students in the bottom right hand corner. There's like a list of kids there usually. If you look really carefully, you'll see iReady, Lexia, you'll see attendance data there. I can't even remember what else is there right now.
It's all related by student name, or are you gonna deny it's
Say it again.
all related by student name or? something?
Well, this is an aggregate display, right? But on this My Student Explorer, if in that gray area where the list of students are, you can search a student by name, drill down, and then you just see their data. Right, just the same way I was drilling down on the bar graph, you can drill down and really take a close look at the students.
So the fact that we're taking 7 data sources and putting in one, that's gonna solve.
So in there you can see it says like iReady, right, Lexia.
I thought we were just looking at, I didn't realize, you know, Sharon's going really fast.
But what I really like is the, on slide 15, where it shows the cohort, 3rd to 4th grade. You know, looking at the bar graph, it's kind of hard to track that because blue in one year, red the next year, and then yellow. And then
That's
green,
right.
So you kind of lose it.
Well, not just that, those aren't cohorts, those bars aren't cohorts.
Right,
That's
it's just
all
that.
Fourth grade,
Right,
fourth
yeah,
grade.
the whole year.
But this is the same group of kids.
Right, which I think is really interesting, and it shows, you know, like some of the state is, right, all the kids are kind of rebounding from the pandemic, but this shows, you know, like, yeah, we're getting the rebound and more, right? So that's like real growth, real difference.
And you already know this and you've already talked about it, but the idea that you're bringing metrics for performance into a database where we can use it for real-time application with individual students is amazing. It's fan-freaking-tastic. You know, this is really exciting stuff. It's not little, it's very big. It changes your whole perspective on each individual kid and what their exposure is, how they're improving, what certain rights. That's what we were talking about this 7-8 years ago. It's fantastic.
Well, finally, we're at that point where we have all of the data. Now we've found something that has successfully been able to put together. So if you go back the 5 years, we didn't have a lot of data sources, right? You know, we had a little bit of like Lexia, we never had Estima. I know that's not pulling in, but like there are all these, we have so many layers now. And now that we're able to come in and sort it and it's really powerful.
So, I mean, to bog us down, are you going and grabbing the information from state sites and have the data, or are they delivering it to you, or what's?
Every platform has their own, like, you know, way they house the data, including the state, the has. And Open Architects creates connectors, is what they call them, like it's, you know, so they're effectively connecting student by a unique student identifier, and they're working in the background so that it updates. So that's the same thing with our assessments. Like if we were to give an assessment tomorrow, and the data ends up getting closed and is ready to go on iReady's site, then when it's updated, it will be right there.
It's great. Sorry, Jake, she kicked you behind.
I wanted to set the bar. Success. I knew she would exceed it.
All right, are we on to new business? We've got the principals from Memorial up here to talk about their.
Correction, you have one.
This one.
I'll explain.
Okay. So, me again. So normally, yes, it would be Wendy and I both. She was not able to be here tonight, so I said I would represent us. But I just want to start off by saying that Wendy and I feel so fortunate to be a co-worker and colleague with her because we are on the same wavelength. We collaborate, even though we're in two different schools in two different towns, whether it's virtually or in person when we can meet. I just feel like I'm fortunate to have her as a thought partner. And so we definitely worked together to develop the school improvement plan. Even though she is not here tonight to share it with you, hopefully I will be able to speak for both of us. So I will start off with, well, as you were just hearing from Cheryl, when we're looking at deeper learning as a strategic objective for us at the elementary level, what that really translates to especially is focusing on the portrait of a learner competencies. We began to do the work last year of really making Portrait of a Learner come off, as Wendy and I both like to say, come off of the wall, the poster on the wall. We have these really great graphics, but at the elementary level, what does that mean for kids? And so we want to continue. We started the work last year and we saw some movement. I know I was super proud of the fact that I had students at Clough giving a tour this summer of new students and new families. And they made a point to say, oh, when you come to elementary school here, you get a superpower. And so we turned the Portrait of a Learner competencies into superpowers, and that stuck with the kids. And so we're expanding on that this year. And even just visually, I mean, I say we want to take it off the poster, off the wall, but so now we want to actually have those superheroes like on the walls in our schools. We want the teachers to be, embedding that kid-friendly language with the kids, so they really know, like, what does it mean to be a mindful learner? And am I a mindful learner? And do I call myself that? And is that my superpower? Versus my neighbor who is a total global citizen, and so that's a big part of this goal. Also, and so we're doing things like having whole school meetings where we're focusing on that. Also having, both Clough and Memorial. Memorial did this last year, and now we've added it. We have family meetings where we have smaller family groups that we're also trying to bring out the Portrait of Learner competencies in those small like mixed grade groups. Another piece of this goal that comes under here is Project Lead the Way. So we are continuing our work on expanding training staff involved in Project Lead the Way, and also utilizing some of the modules from Project Lead the Way. But the bigger part of this goal really is focused around kind of all the work we're doing to really bring Portrait of a Learner to life in the elementary schools, so that when they get up to high school, they will have really already had such a strong foundation, and we really want them to see themselves as portraits of a learner. So that's goal number one. Goal two, when we talk about high quality curriculum and instruction, there's a lot in this goal. But again, we started the work last year looking at tier one instruction. And as Cheryl referred to, that's like when we talk about universal design for learning, where we're really trying to meet everyone's needs. Also at the elementary school, we're super lucky because our teachers teach all the subjects. So making sure that across all curriculum areas. And as Cheryl shared too, I think another graphic that we really look to bring to life is that data inquiry cycle. We started the work at the elementary school last year as that cycle was being discussed and rolled out. We were doing the work at the elementary level of really working with teachers to to go through all the steps to, investigate and question, notice their data, look, just also like looking at all different kinds of data, helping them see that we collect a lot of different data. Yes, some of the ones you were mentioning, like, the MCAS and the Dibbles and Lexia, but then there's so much other just everyday data that we're collecting at the elementary level. So helping teachers to be able to come together and look at that and make decisions about their instruction. So some of the other things and so we, like I said, we started that work. We're continuing to do work on that data inquiry cycle. We are, our teachers are fortunate that they have time in their schedule each week to be able to come together as grade level teams to meet. And we have, assessment calendars in place so they know when they're giving both formal and informal assessments. We've been looking, as Cheryl said, especially in reading, but also really especially in writing. Today was a PD day, and Clapham Memorial, for all of our building-based PD, we're coming together with both schools. So today I was lucky enough to be at Memorial leading the teachers through work around rubrics to really look at student writing. And it was really awesome to see. We had the teachers bring samples of writing from kindergarten through 4th grade and really put it up on the wall and look at like the progression of student writing from kindergarten through 4th grade. And we have a lot of work to do, but we've already seen just a lot of change just by having that focus right now, that the teachers know that this whole year we're really digging into writing. Let's see what else under this. There are a lot of action steps under this goal that I want to make sure we've been looking at just even collecting more student writing so that we have more writing to look at, because that was something that we noticed when we started the data cycle last year, that kids weren't having enough time to actually produce writing. And this year we've even said that we need to really drill down to the sentence level at elementary school of teaching kids, what does it mean to write a complete sentence? What does it mean to add on to make very, very detailed sentences? So those are the kinds of conversations we're having. We are also continuing to work on small group instruction. That was work that we started last year at the elementary level. And we're expanding on that in all of the subjects to make sure that, at that tier 1 level, we are meeting all of the needs, the wide range of needs in each class. That is goal 2. Goal 3, based off of our, strategic objective of equity, inclusion, and well-being. There's a lot in this goal as well about looking at social, emotional, and behavioral instructional strategies. But some of the things that actually, when we're having the conversation about open architects, I love open architects. It's very exciting to see what we've been able to do with that so far with our teams. But part of the work through there that it's been exciting to be able to help them design what's going to work for us. And that falls under our S3 Academy work, which is, systemic student support. And so we are at both Clough and Memorial, we have certain grade levels that we're really zeroing in on what we call whole child reviews. So we're looking at the strengths and needs in math and in their math skills, the strengths and needs in ELA skills, the strengths and needs in social emotional, the strengths and needs in attendance, the strengths and needs in family situations. And we're able to have all of that information housed within this open architects. And that's because they've created that for us. And so that, the teachers are just beginning to really explore with open architects, but they are excited to be able to kind of go to one spot where we used to be toggling between lots of different, spreadsheets and looking at a different link to a different site, but now we have everything in one spot. So, some of the work that we're doing is based around our S3 Academy whole child reviews. We are at Memorial, they are focusing in on kindergarten. At Clough, we're focusing on 2nd and 4th grade. And basically to then scale it up, but we're starting with those grades, and those grades will be able to help the other grades as we continue with that whole child review process. Attendance data is also something that we are looking at the elementary level within this goal. And then we are looking at and continuing to explore different evidence-based SEL curriculum that we will be able to implement at the elementary level. And then the last goal is related to community support, and we are working to develop a comprehensive safety plan with both towns, with fire and police. And we've already, both schools, we have safety committees that meet and, are recognizing that we need to continue to work on, especially with our school resource officers, on evacuations, lockdowns, offsite reunification, all of those. We've also been planning to have sort of, we have basically monthly meetings where we're continuing to make sure that we've covered everything, and we're continually feel like we're always adding to just different areas of safety that we need to focus on. But it's been nice to be able to partner with both Mendon and Upton Police and Fire. So that was a quick overview of all 4 of our school improvement plan goals, but I'm sure maybe you have questions that.
Notice that in resources needed, time is mentioned.
Yes, that's, yeah. I mean, that's always the case. I feel like there's just never enough time to be able to bring people together. But I mean, I do feel like the elementary teachers have been, I think, really good about, actually, we've had some scheduling and committee meetings to talk about like rethinking even our schedule within the day of like how we're going to best be able to both provide high quality instruction, but also in order to do that, we really need to give teachers and staff time to come together. So people have been creative about thinking about different ways to do that.
So you feel comfortable about the dates you've got set up here? Because they look, I mean, they're really fun because they're all this year, but.
Well, I mean, yeah, I feel. Yeah, I think Wendy and I both, like when we, I will say it is a challenge, I think, to, to set like a 1 year, because I mean, but as I said, there are some of these that we started some of this work last year, right? And we're continuing it. Maybe we've tweaked or we've added some more specific action steps, or we've expanded on what we're doing. So, will we fully accomplish everything this year? I don't know about that, but we're going to try. So. Yes, and we might have actually taken a few things off actually before this. So it was even more so. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. There's just a lot that needs to be done. But at the same time, like I said, I feel like when I was talking to both the staff this morning at RPD, I get excited that when Wendy and I can both, be united, like on this focus on writing, right? Like we feel like that's going to give us such a bigger bang for the buck, where that's going to cover so many other curriculum areas. And that when we focus that attention, we feel like we're going to see a lot of progress in a lot of areas. And it's been nice to be able to advocate for that like the teachers want this, we as administrators want this, and to be able to let people know that this is our plan for the whole year, right? That this is what we're going to, there's a lot of other things we have to focus on, but this is especially like our priority. I get excited talking about writing instructions, so because if I could, I would do that all the time. But
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Yes. Well, thank you very much for coming out for your 2 presentations.
thank you.
Would like to see the kids do this.
Right.
Yeah, Kat could have done it. Yeah, she could have totally done it for me. Yes. Yeah, I need to be eyes on her.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Next up, we'll do some updates on our subcommittees. Jim, start with you on capital planning.
Sure. So we had our last meeting at the end of November. We had a presentation on security and technology needs. There's some good discussion around improved security at the schools and technology with the aging smart boards for the elementary schools. Dr. Cohen shared a community survey that also went out last week. So if you haven't seen it, share it, share it, share it. We reviewed an initial draft of the capital planning documents, that Jay and Dr. Cohen shared with us. There was some good discussion on how to work with the towns and the community to make sure that we share the capital plan and everybody's aware of it, sets it up for success. Earlier today, I had a tour of the memorial, which went very well. They're in pretty good shape, about 20-ish years old. And the next meeting is January 2nd.
Sean, I think that's for budget, we're meeting tomorrow. so-
Yeah, we haven't really had meetings since last time I reported on, so we're meeting tomorrow, probably incorporate some of the ideas.
Awesome. All right, Vicky, take some policy.
Met prior to this meeting, and then, two policies that we're recommending people up tonight, you for a first reading, so we're continuing to look at our section B policy governance, so there were two that we made some very minor changes to, the school attorney and the school committee meetings. Through to them, you can see highlighted there, generally just some tweaks to update language, maybe pronouns, like gender neutral. Updates language to bring it into alignment with the suggested policy from MASC. And then there were three that we had four changes to executive sessions, PPA notifications, school committee, and agenda format. So those were, there was a couple that were a little more substantive, like where we recommended taking out some language about specifics on different versions of minutes than one. Where that's through that. Vote to approve the two that with the minor changes each.
Just to review,
Yeah.
Vicki, could you tell me why you eliminated the last sentence in the policy?
We just felt that it was superfluous, and that it just didn't need to really be specified. It was just sort of there that the things like the chair and the superintendent determined when we were meeting. And it also, when we looked at the MASC standard, it didn't have that language in it, so this was just extrapolated.
Yeah. It's in your motion.
I'll second.
I'll
second. Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And we'll read the next three along the way and I'll take those. Points. All right. I think since you're so on there.
And so for the negotiations, we met with emergency negotiations. 7th of November, with some dates for our next meeting, the week of January 8th. So we're just waiting for some feedback from their team to figure out what.
All right. Are there any other matters not anticipated by the committee within 48 hours of posting? So in the future, we're gonna turn to budget presentations by department or by school again. And with that, we can move to executive session. So by exception number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, if in an open meeting may be detrimental effect of bargaining or a litigating position qualified with shared difference. We will return to open session only for the purpose of adjourning this meeting. Do we have a motion to move to executive session? Maybe you have to do roll call. Okay. Motion first.
Motion to go to executive session.
Okay. All in favor? Roll call.
That's a rule.
Jeez. All right, start on there.
Eric Lawrence, I.
Eric Brown, aye.
Sean Nicholson, aye. Jim Fortin, aye.
All right, we are now moving to executive session at 8:11. Where's the table?
I realized you didn't have it.